Raiders! It's Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter. That's right, Murf and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Touchdown! Kenny Stabler goes all the way.
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win.
You know what, Al? I think this team can win, too. Welcome in to Raiders Fan Radio. Same city, different city, same love for our beloved Raiders. I am your host, Sonny. With me in my headphones and in your phones or speakers or car speakers, whatever it is you're listening to us on, we appreciate it. But also with us is my co-host, Murf. Murf, how are you this evening?
Sonny, I'm doing fantastic. I'm not Conor McGregor or Money Mayweather good. Oh, maybe I am as good, just certainly not as wealthy as those gentlemen are going to be. Sonny, are you going to watch that fight?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it illegally on the interwebs.
Yeah, you and I'm sure millions of other people. I'm contemplating whether I'm going to get the fight or not. I don't know. I'll get it legally if I get it, but I don't know. Maybe $100. Like, I'm not going to spend more than $100. I'll invite like 4 or 5 guys over. $100 and then go. But that's it. I'm not spending like $150 on the freaking.
I'll
fight.
save you some time. You'll spend $100 to watch Mayweather run away from McGregor and then catch him a couple times. McGregor will go down. That's how it's going to go down.
Unfortunately, I think so too. But there's that one part of you that just thinks that maybe McGregor's got a shot, because that's all that it's going to be, right? Otherwise, Mayweather's just going to do exactly what you're talking about, and it's not going to be very exciting at all.
But this is Raiders Fan Radio, not Mixed Martial Arts Fan Radio. So welcome in to another show. Uncle Mosh, how can people find out any more information about us?
Well, let's see. First, old cousin Murf has got to find the audio hit. I was too busy talking about mixed martial arts and boxing that I forgot to bring the contact ad up. Here it is.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
All right, welcome into this. Murf, today's a celebration. We've been doing podcasting now for, since I think 2012, when we started way back when with the Madden Football League on Blog Talk and moved to Spreaker. Then recently we've been doing it through Skype and kind of posting it up through podcast or Libsyn. But, Murf, this is a milestone today. This is our 33rd show of Raiders Fan Radio, which means this is now the most shows we've ever done. So thanks, Murf, for the dedication. I know it takes a lot. I should be thanking your wife and your kids, but hey, that's pretty cool, man. 33. This is our Larry Bird episode. This is our Larry Bird episode.
There you go. I was just going to say, Kenny King, right? Keep it on the Raiders. Absolutely. Congratulations back to you as well, sir. This is cool. And I got to say, this is probably I don't know if it's the best thing we've ever done. I'm going to say it is, because I think we're the only ones that have ever listened to anything we've ever done all the way through each and everything we've done. So I think it's not only the best podcast we've done, but it's certainly been the most fun and the most rewarding so far. So yeah, thanks to you. Great job.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I just finished watching that Best of Enemies, Celtics versus Lakers. It's pretty good stuff. So the Bird reference was fresh off the dome. All right.
There you go.
It's good. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It's pretty cool. 6 topics today, Murph. 6 topics. 3 days worth of minicamp. Lynch jersey is number 1 for the month of May. Seabass is going to kick till he's kicked out. Father's Day. You got a little breakdown of fathers and sons in the NFL we'll get to. An interesting topic, Murph. What makes a better fan? An adopted fan or a biological fan? I'll explain that a little bit later. And we're getting ready to approach the dark period. This is going to be a long month, 5 weeks or so until training camp comes up. So we'll talk about what we're going to do. We'll also talk about kind of the schedule once they come back through. So without any further fondue, Murph, let's go into our first topic.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start talking a little bit about Raiders minicamp. You know, pretty most relevant Raiders story that was going on this week. You know, they had a 3-day period where they had everybody in, so it's a cool time because you get to see everybody. You know, all the rookies and all the veterans. Everybody's in there all at one time, and they're really getting a lot of activity, a lot of action, a lot of play, a lot of coverage. So it's pretty fun to follow. So I got a few things just to kind of cover with and ask you what your opinion is and what some of your takeaways have been. So I just basically we're going to run down kind of the press conferences. You know, when they get done with the practices after each day, then the Raiders will parade out, you know, different groups of players and coaches, and they all take between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on who it is, to address the media and you know, kind of get some stories thrown out there. So anyway, so start off with Coach. We'll start off with Big Brass Jack, and a couple things that he mentioned that I thought were interesting. Where Coach Jack says that take away all the coach speak, right? And let me say that too. I didn't make any notes of any of the cliches type stuff that, we're working real hard and we're going to take this one day at a time. And you know what I mean? Yada. The stuff that we hear all the time. But so these are Murph's takeaways from after listening to the interviews and watching some of the footage, things that I thought were interesting. So first up, Captain Jack says that he loves Trayvon Hester and he is really excited, for Trayvon to get into pads, and he really likes the way that he moves the line and that he thinks that he's going to be able to make a lot of noise on the defensive line this year. And I thought that was interesting because you typically don't hear head coaches, right, make comments about players until they get into pads. Your coordinators will say this guy looks good, that guy looks good. The beat writers will talk about what players look like. But to hear a head coach come out and say, this guy looks really good, this guy is going to be able to move the offensive line, that was a pretty, at least I know it's way early, but that's a pretty sound endorsement, don't you think?
Does that put too much pressure on Hester now, do you think, to live up to? I mean, is maybe Del Rio trying to encourage him, and maybe he's slacking, and so by speaking highly about him, he hopes that he'll step his game up? Or maybe he is doing really good, and coach is saying, hey, this guy has a shot, but then that's also shots fired to everybody else on the D-line, right, to step up their game. So I think it's kind of cool. I mean, to get praise from the head coach, it's one thing to get it from your defensive line coach, but from the head coach, that's another level, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. So that puts, so we got Jelly Ellis, Eddie Vander doesn't miss the buffet, and Trayvon Hester, right? Those are looks like our 3 tackles that are going to be rotating in. So, of course, and we've talked ad nauseum on the show about other guys and all the hybrid looks that we're going to see, but I think those are going to be the 3 guys. So good for Hester. Hopefully he can push one of those guys for a starting job. So the other thing that coach said, that I thought was really interesting was that, and pretty much all of them address the Warriors in one sense or another. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors for winning their second championship in 3 years. Should have been 3 championships in 3 years, but that's a whole nother story. That's Warriors Fan Radio. But he talked a lot about, the inspiration that they provide. He was at the game. He saw them celebrate. And he talked about, it's the work every day. That's where you get it. You can't focus on holding a trophy at the end of the year. If you focus on that, you're going to fail. I'm paraphrasing for him, but basically it's SMART goals, right? You have to have small, attainable goals. You have to have incremental growth. You take incremental steps towards your ultimate goal, and so, you don't come out of the gate thinking, all right, we're going to win the Lombardi Trophy. No, first you need to, win your division or, get a first round bye, whatever. You have all the different goals set to set you up for that success. So I thought that was really cool. He's keeping everything in focus. There's a lot of expectations on the team. And frankly, the question was there. Does this raise expectations even further, being that the Warriors won a championship next door? So what do you think? Do you think the Warriors winning it puts any additional pressure, or are these guys professional athletes and they're going to provide all their own pressure regardless?
I guess I'd flip it back to you. What would put more pressure on the Raiders, to have the Niners win a championship or the Warriors win a championship?
Well, it's funny. He said, I forget, it might have been Derek Carr in his portion, said something about most Warriors fans are Raiders fans. He said unless they're like some of those people that go back across the bay and root for that other team. He didn't even say the Raiders he'd say the Niners. He said that other team. I don't know. I think that, I like these kinds of stories, and these things are always fun to take note of. But I think at the end of the day, they're professional athletes, and, they don't need a lot of exterior motivation. Like, to get this far, and I know that there's always, examples of otherwise, but for the most part, don't you think that, like, not only are these guys paid very well, but they're in the absolute best environments possible to enable their own successes, and they just have so many things working already that, do they need the Warriors or a Niner to try to motivate them more? I don't think so. I think they're all the motivation they need. Like, the Penguins winning the friggin' Stanley Cup, is that going to motivate Big Ben any further, or James Harrison? Like, I don't think so. I think the NFL athletes, and all professional athletes for that matter, provide enough of their own motivation.
Yeah, but they're also human, and so no matter how solidified you are in your career, I think being around success makes you want to be successful as well, or if nothing else, it challenges you to raise your game and try that much harder. I don't necessarily think it's a keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, like, oh, the Warriors won, so we better win. But I think it's a matter of, dang, man, look at them on that parade float. That looks fun. Look at them. They're the talk of the city right now. Look at them. They're having the time of their life. Look at them. They're going to Vegas to party. Well, they'll be in Raiders. Be in Vegas. But I mean, so I think just being around it would be motivation. Not so much in the sense of that they're professionals and need extra motivation. I think they'll do just fine finding that on their own, especially after last year. I think the Raiders are going to come in this season pretty hungry. I think being around success kind of bleeds off and rubs off. You know what I'm saying? Like in business or in life, you want to be around successful people. You want to be around people who are making it in life, and then that mindset, that frame of reference, that desire kind of bleeds off into who you are as a person and stuff like that. So for that purpose, yeah, Warriors keep winning championships, at least till you move to San Francisco and we move to Vegas. So I don't know. I think it just makes them hungrier. I don't know if it transcends into anything on the field, but I think it's going to make them that much more hungry to say, look at that. We want to be on a float. That looks fun. We want to be making fun of our opponents with the quickie shirt that Draymond had. So yeah.
Well, it also came up under Derek Carr's time, and of course he's a self-admitted Lakers fan. Kobe's his all-time favorite athlete, and so he's a Laker fan. But of course, he's gonna support the Warriors, and as he mentions, especially since they share a parking lot with the team. And so it came up, and kind of the same. The gist of it was the same. Derek Carr's sentiment was the same as coaches, that they want to bring a championship to the city of Oakland as well, that they admire those guys and celebrate their victory. Some other really cool stuff that came up during Derek Carr's press conference. Last week we covered one of his pressers, and then now here we are again, and he's again. It's like there's just a wealth of cool Raider little tidbits here of what we have to look forward to this season with him. One of the things he addressed flat out was that the reports are out that Coop has bulked up.
Coop looks
stupid big.
He looks stacked. Did you see a picture of him?
Oh my gosh.
He looks ripped.
Yes. He looks good. And Carr's
would
talking
test
about
his urine for deer antler spray.
And shark cartilage a la Romanowski.
Yes.
But he talks about how Coop he's on fire this offseason, and how he thinks that he's going to, you hate to say return to form, because he's already been explosive and been great in the regular season in the NFL, but he also has kind of had a little bit of a lull, coming into the second half of the season, and he really hasn't. I mean, again, at times he has, but at Alabama, he just flat out took over games. He just, you know what I mean? I think about when they played Tennessee. I mean, it was just, Coop was dominant. And so I think that Carr is expecting that he's going to return to that type of playmaking ability, and that's great news for us, right? If Coop is able to take over games and to show that explosiveness and to do those amazing things. And then something else that he said in it, I guess it's one of those things that you always kind of know, but I didn't really think about it until he said it. Amari Cooper's 22 years old. Let that sink in for a minute. Amari Cooper is 22 years old. That dude's going to play for the Raiders for another, 10 years in his prime? 8 years more in his prime? I'm excited to see what Amari Cooper is going to do this year.
He's 23. Today's his birthday.
Oh, well, congratulations. Happy birthday, Amari. Happy birthday.
Now, okay, I will say this.
Okay, let me say it again. Okay, Amari Cooper's 23 years old, Sonny. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Amari Cooper is 23 years old.
By a few hours. It's like, I think he gets a lot of flack. I think people give him too much flack. He's one of I believe, don't quote me, but I believe I'm accurate on this. I think I heard earlier. He's one of only 3 wide receivers to ever enter the league and have 1,000 yards receiving in his first 2 years in the league. On top of that, he's also, I believe, first or maybe top 2, or it's a handful at most. I want to say he might be the only one to have 600 yards or 500 yards in the first 6 weeks of one of those randoms kind of stats, So it's not like he's been bad. It's not like, I don't think there's been a major drop off from when he was at Bama to now when he's with the Raiders. Have we seen his ceiling? I don't think so. But I'm not going to say we need this call to return to form kind of mentality and stuff like that. If anything else, I think he's just going to keep raising that level higher and higher and higher. And now that we have Cordell to kind of be that deep threat, you're not going to be able to double Cooper that much anymore. And you got Jared Cook at tight end.
And Cook, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to double or triple Coop no more. So he's going to draw a lot more one-on-one matchups. So it's going to be interesting. Could be pretty fun for old Carr and Cooper.
I think so, and I think that what you just said, I think is really key. That the Jared Cook factor, that's what's really going to help out. And not that, don't get me wrong, not that Cordero Patterson isn't going to help out. I get that, but the idea that conceptually, and this is a cool question for Ted Wynn, who our friend at RaidersAnalysis.com, is that putting up the tight end and having them run those seam routes, those routes that kind of split the zones that New England does so well. That's what gets their wideouts freed up, is Martellus Bennett, once upon a time Aaron Hernandez, and Rob Gronkowski. They're commanding coverage to the middle of the field, and you're right, you can't double them, and that's what's going to free these guys up, and that's what's going to free Coop up, and that's what Cook is going to do, and that's going to be incredible. The explosiveness also that with Cordero Patterson, I'm glad you brought that up. I had that later on my list. We'll just go ahead and jump up to where Cordero's part was. The thing I thought was really cool about Patterson is that not even so much of what he said, other than the fact that he's excited about getting a fresh start, but this dude had a permagrin on his face. He smiled through the entire thing, and you can tell he's excited. And that, I just got done saying that players don't need any, external motivators and all that kind of stuff. But also there's a lot to be said for the culture of your organization and when you're in a good place. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a good spot, and it will certainly help. And especially when you look at the quarterbacks that Cordero Patterson had in Minnesota, they all pale compared to Derek Carr. So and now granted, I know he's had the drop season, I know he's had all that stuff, but this dude, I think, is going to be, obviously he's going to be explosive in the return game, and we know he's going to return kicks, and that's going to be a big focus of his role with this football team. But also, whether it's running that 9 route and extending out the field or just getting him involved somehow, I think that's going to be a big, big deal, and the guy's motivated, and the guy's really happy to be in Oakland, which is also a new thing for us, right?
Well, of course he is. Look where he's coming from. Look where he's at now. I mean, look who his quarterback is, and look at the weapons. It's not like we don't need Cordell. Cordell needs us. The Raiders have turned a corner, and guys want to be here because we're going to make them better. It used to be we needed guys here, and we needed them to make us better. Now it's, hey, we want this guy, we want that guy, and we're gonna make them better. You know what I'm saying? It's completely turned over. Like we said last show, we shouldn't be all, oh my gosh, he said something nice about us. Like, we're the pretty girl in the room now. People want to hang out with us. You know what I'm saying? People want to be in our car. They want to be with us. So yeah, come on, Cordell, let's have some fun with it. And that's, would you want it any other way? Would you want it all serious and Cordell's, I expect to do great things? Like, you could tell he's happy. Bill was smiling on his face and stuff. Good things are coming, Murph. Good things are coming.
So back to Derek Carr and some of his comments, a couple of other things he talked about. Somebody asked him a question about, setting up a kind of like an intimidating type team and wanting people to be scared when they came to play the Raiders. And he was quickly dismissive of that, which, good for him. He should have been. Last thing you want to do is be setting yourself up to be a target for defenses or for other teams as a whole. Basically, he said, I don't think any professional athlete is scared of anybody. You look at the Warriors, they weren't scared of LeBron, right? You respect him, you respect his game, but they're not scared of him. But what he did say I thought was kind of cool is that he said, but what we do want is we want teams to have a heightened amount of tension when they come to play us. And if they are going to be scared of anybody, they're going to be scared of our offensive line. And those guys are so competitive and they're so good at what they're doing. And Carr was mentioning about how in practice and even in games, they're so competitive with one another that if he gets touched, like even if somebody gets a finger on him, they're on each other. Like they're so competitive with one another that they get on each other when Carr comes under any kind of fire at all. And is there any more music to your ears as a quarterback than to know that your offensive line is on fire to protect you and to keep your jersey clean? Look, if you're a quarterback back there and you got a bunch of dudes that are, 6'5", 300 plus pounds in front of you, and they all got your back to the level of where, they're holding each other incredibly accountable for someone even getting a finger on you. That's pretty amazing, dude. We could be, this could just be just a fan coming out of me here, which happens on Raiders Fan Radio. This could be like Raiders of the 70s good kind of offensive line. There's old stories from those guys from Upshaw and Shell and Bueller and Dave Vella and Dalby. Those guys would talk about how they'd turn around at times and they'd tell Stabler, they go, hey, Snake, bounce around back there, do something. You know what I mean? Make it look like you're doing, because he would be so well protected, he'd drop back there and just stand there and looking around, not even shuffling his feet or nothing. He'd just be standing there. And Upshaw would tell him, move around, Snake, do something. And I wonder, obviously it depends on the play of Marshall Newhouse and some of the younger guys, but are we starting to move into that territory where we are going to have the biggest, baddest offensive line, not only in the league this year, but maybe in Raider history?
I think whenever you can get a group of any kind to police themselves, your job is much easier as a coach. So for Mike Tice to have a group of guys who are essentially policing themselves to where Mike Tice doesn't have to get after Hudson if he blows an assignment. Kalichi Osemele is going to get after Hudson for blowing an assignment and letting somebody touch Carr. You're a baseball coach. You know, with little kids, you know how it is. If you can get the guys to keep each other accountable, A, your job is easier, but B, the outcome and the synergy is that much better because you don't want to disappoint your brother. That foxhole friendship type of thing, right? And so that's beautiful. And yeah, I agree. We could get back. I think they already are there. I just think they're not getting the recognition yet. I mean, last season, wasn't it Osemele and Jackson didn't give up a sack all year? Wasn't that right? Only 3 guards, I think, in the whole entire league, and 2 of them were on the Raiders.
Yeah.
And
the only one Donald Penn gave up was the one that snapped freaking Carr's ankle.
So I think we're already there. I just think we're not getting the recognition yet. On top of that, getting rid of Murray, who didn't quite have the vision and wasn't the zone kind of runner, as Ted pointed out a couple weeks ago, and bring in Lynch, who is more of that type of running back. Lynch pops off for 1,500 yards. Carr throws for 3,500 and 30 touchdowns and 5 picks, gets sacked 4 times on the year. I mean, yeah, all that's very possible. Granted, no injuries. Granted, ball deflect. I mean, you never know, right? That's why we love the game. You still got to play it. On paper, we look great, but you still have to play it. But it's line it up, Murph, to be freaking magical, bro. I mean, it just is. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait. Can't wait.
I'm with you. And the last thing that Carr had mention of that I thought was really interesting and something that I'm also very excited to see. And this, we've mentioned Ted a couple times now, and we've got to get him back on the show here before training camp gets going, because I have some specific X's and O's type questions that I would like to ask him, and it's all based on these last few things that Carr said. He talked about having full control of the offense, and we kind of knew that was what the case was going to be, that he was going to have the ability to free flow in the offense, audible, change the assignments, get guys in the right position, all that kind of stuff. And he talked about how his goal is to get a clean break out of the huddle, not having guys moving around, like everybody knows exactly where they're going. Everyone knows what their alignments are, all that stuff. But he said something, and I'm going to paraphrase, but something to the effect of, all right, we know the play. It's up to me to get everybody in the right alignment. So if I after I survey the defense, if I need to move some stuff and change some things around, that's what I need to do. And I've been given the ability to do that, where when I was younger, when his rookie year and even his second year, he didn't have that. It was, you came out, this is the play, this is the set, that's it, go. But now he's got this flexibility to move guys around. And I'm wondering if what that means is, does Downing give him a play, okay, and then he goes out and the play doesn't change, so he's not necessarily audibling the play, but maybe he's, getting a guy in motion to try to identify what type of coverage they're in, or assigning somebody to for running backs for blitz protections or what. Like, I'm curious to what that means. Like, okay, like I've got to get everybody in the right, I get the play, and then I've got to get everybody in the right alignments. Like, I'm curious to what the actual X's and O's breakdown of that is. Either way, whatever it is, it's bitching, right? Like, it's really cool, the fact that our quarterback is going to be able to go out there and do all this stuff, because, we know that's what the great ones do. So the fact that our quarterback is on the precipice of doing all this, that, no matter what, is excellent news. But I'm really curious to what that actually means.
I think it's standard. I think it shows Carr's evolution and his growth. I think it's, here's the play, here's 4 audibles. Out of that play, you ultimately have the last say. Do you give that to Charlie Batch? No. Do you give it to Peyton Manning? Yes. Do you give it to Todd Marinovich? No. Do you give it to Derek Carr? Yes. Because you have trust, right? And one of the things Downing said earlier during the offseason here is him and Carr basically think alike, right? Remember that? I think they both said it.
Yeah.
I think it was Downing, where basically Derek is an extension of Downing on the field. And then Carr is an extension of Downing up in the press box, wherever he's going to be viewing the game from. And so just to be on the same level. So Downing should already be on the same page as far as reading coverages. If they're just playing cover 2, let's send a guy deep and pull a guy in the corner out and then, see where the safety goes. And so if they're already on that level, yeah, then I mean, Carr has given you enough, I think, in his 4th year now. Carr's given you enough to trust him, I believe, at this point. He's not foolish with the ball. Does he maybe have a little too much confidence at times in those tight windows? Maybe. But, you still want him to have the ball in the fourth quarter. I think he has the most fourth quarter comebacks the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
sure does.
I don't see why not. I mean, his growth has shown it there. But here, I'm going to throw something out there, Murph. And this might not be popular thought, but I think this is just more of a realistic expectation. The jump we saw from 2015 to 2016 with Derek Carr, I don't believe we're going to see that again from 2016 to 2017. Because now it's going to be his 4th year. Last year we were pretty darn good. We got a lot of people's attention, and there's a lot of film out there now about Derek. So I think while he'll still be good, I think he still will progress. I don't think we're going to see – he's not going to light it up 5,000 yards and have the same kind of jump that he had from 15 to 16, simply because the tape's out on him and how much – and he's coming back from injury. And that's a big question mark in my eyes. But I will say this, with the substitution of Downing now as the offensive coordinator and bringing on Lynch, how does all that tape change on the past Raiders offensive stuff? Maybe he will, based on it's a new offense to a certain degree. I don't know. But at this time, I don't think we see as big a jump that we saw from 15 to 16 with Eric.
Well, if he does, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. He had an amazing year last year, right? So we know there was and it's been, heavily covered here lately, that the jump 1 to 2 and the jump 2 to 3 were both very, very significant. And so if he has that same thing 3 to 4, that's next level. But you know what? He already, first off, I agree with you. Okay. You're right. Because the game will only allow for so much, right? Like you look at the guys the absolute stat crushers every year, like the Drew Breeses of the world, there's only so much the game can allow you. There's only 16 games and 4 quarters to play. You know what I mean? You get to a point to where you can't have those same levels of growth, and especially when you look at the stats, because it would exceed what's actually physically possible. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So, and then we also know that with Richard and Washington, and especially now with Marshawn Lynch, they're not going to be throwing the ball 50 plus times a game. We shouldn't have to, right? We should be able to control the clock a little bit. Derek should be 20 for 30 type games, right? Is that what we're looking for? 25 for 30, right? 300 yards, couple touches, right? Isn't that about what we're looking for from him? So I think that, then this is what, if anything, if this is the jump though in his ability, is not so much how that translates to stats or, things like that, but how it actually, for what he's actually doing on the field, that could be an exponential jump, right? That could be a big jump, because young quarterbacks don't do this kind of stuff. So maybe that's the jump now, is the mental part of the game. And frankly, that's what wins. It is, the greatest of the greats, they're all smart. It's all the cognitive process. It's all how quick they can process what's going on the field, pre-snap and post. And that's what separates them. So if that's where he makes the big leaps, then I'm telling you, man, I'm excited. We won't get into the contract part yet, but yeah, I'm with you. I think this is gonna be good stuff. Gonna be fun to watch. All right, we'll keep it moving here. I had a bunch more here, and we're gonna graze over a couple of these. One was Jalen Richard. Pretty cool. He doesn't do a lot of a lot of press, at least not to this point in his young career. So it was nice to see him up there, basically just kind of talking about the Marshawn influence, about how Marshawn has been so gracious with, sharing tricks with them, little tips, things to, and that's what you want, right? That's what we had speculated and hoped that the Raiders would get from a veteran presence like Marshawn. It's not just the performance on the field, but what can he do as a veteran to help the young guys along? And he's certainly doing that. I would like to dig in a little bit on this one. Khalil Mack winning the Butkus Award, I thought was really kind of cool. And the fact that they had Dick Butkus come to the facility and surprise Khalil Mack. He didn't even know what was going on. They showed a bunch of old Dick Butkus footage, which I'm paraphrasing, but he was impressed by the way that he played and how physical he was and how you can't do things like they did back then because now you'd get fined. But the fact that the Raiders brought Butkus in to present the award to Khalil Mack, that is one of those kind of things that I think that, again, more evidence that we are in another era of the Raiders. That's something, I don't think Al would ever done that. Do you?
Bringing in Butkus?
Yeah, even if he wouldn't have been responsible for it directly, would he have ever condoned having Butkus come into the facility to bring in and actually hand his player that award? I don't think that's something Al would have done. If it would have been a Raider, if Dick Butkus was a Raider, sure. But I don't think he would have brought in Butkus.
He might have cussed at him as he brought him in, or
yeah,
brought up some random regular season Week 8 game from freaking 1963 or something. That's how Al was.
Right.
And again, we need to start expecting these things. Mac is phenomenal.
Right.
Carr's phenomenal. Cooper's going to be phenomenal. Our offensive line's phenomenal. Really, the only big question mark is the defense. So, but Mac's not questionable. So, yeah, he got the Butkus Award as expected, Murph, as expected. I'm shifting my mindset now with these Raiders. I'm expecting things now. I'm not just hoping. We have to move from, oh my gosh, we're 500. Oh my gosh, we're in the playoffs. Oh my gosh, we got 10 wins. We need to start expecting things now with this team because that's the level that they can play at, and we know they can play at that high level. And last year, Christmas Eve, 2016 will always be the what if season in my eyes. It'll always be what if Carr doesn't get hurt. What if he doesn't get hurt, right? And so now it's, okay, we've seen what you can do. Last year, you surprised everybody, but this year, let's go. And Mac, yeah, there's no reason why he shouldn't win it every year. He should get the Butkus Award every single year. All these guys should be getting awards. That's where I'm at, man. I'm just telling you, that's where I'm at,
Well, that's a good place to be, and I think you're right. I think it is that we as Raider fans have to start adopting that type of thinking. And I've just been slower to it than you have. And I see something like this, I'm like, holy crap, Dick Butkus came to Alameda and actually gave it to. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, like our players are actually doing like national interviews. Like it's
holy crap!
Crazy.
ESPN showed highlights of our game and didn't just talk about us for 2 seconds as the losing team. Come on, yeah,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, so here my last one that I got here for minicamp, and I'm glad you brought up about the defense because Carl Joseph, again, another guy who you hadn't heard a ton of press stuff from, so it was good to hear the second year man come out and talk a little bit. And something that, shame on me, call me a bad Raider fan. Did you know, Sonny, that in his last year of college he had ACL surgery?
Joseph?
Yep.
I want to say I remember something about it. I couldn't tell you all the stats and details about it, but I want to remember he had an injury in his college years, yeah.
He sure did. In 2015, in like October, he had ACL surgery. I didn't know that. Either I did and I forgot, or I didn't know that through the draft process. But anyways, he is talking about how he's healthier than ever. He feels healthier than ever. That he's a full participation. That he wasn't before. That he was a little bit timid before. Look, this dude is a freaking monster hitter, and he's talking about how he was timid before. He's timid before, but he's not now. They asked him, when you watched your film from last year, did you feel at times you weren't seeing yourself? And he said, no, not always. He said, but there were definitely those times. He said, but the bottom line is that I'm a full go now, and I wasn't at times last year. And that to me, Sonny, I don't think I knew this, because something I've always thought about with a lot of these injuries, and especially when you talk about a lower limb injury like this, just because you're healthy that first year, I feel like there's another, unless you're Adrian Peterson or somebody, something miraculous like that. There's always it's the second year before these guys actually return to form. Like, you may be healthy enough to play, but the mental aspect of it and the part of you that has to truly trust, the surgery and, getting back the physicality into where, you know what I mean? It's twofold. It's the physical part of it, and then it's the mental part of it to really truly regain that. That part of it takes 2 years. And if that's the case, dude, I'm excited about what Carl Joseph's going to do on the defense. And he mentioned a little bit about Obi, and he mentioned Reggie Nelson. He mentioned the other guys, not TJ Carey. Who am I thinking of? McGill. He mentioned the other guys, and Sonny, I'm encouraged, man. I'm encouraged because we know how physical of a player Carl Joseph can be. We've seen him. We've seen him again with those flashes with the Raiders, and certainly in his career in West Virginia. And this dude's going to bring the boom, I think. I think that we could see a big-time breakout year from this guy in year 2.
I think it's twofold. Remember, in music, it's the sophomore album or a sophomore slump. Sometimes the first album's really great, and then it's like the sophomore slump. Well, I think it's opposite in football. I think rookies very rarely come on the scene and just dominate. It takes a year to get used to the speed of the game between college and between the pros. Doesn't matter, even if you played in the big bad SEC. The speed of the game is just faster in the NFL. The plays are different. The coverages, you have to learn a whole new playbook. It's not instinctual yet. When you're a fighter, or anything in life, really, it's muscle memory. When you learn to ride a bike, you learn to walk, you learn to run. Everything in life is muscle memory. So for Joseph, he's not quite there yet where he can't act instinctively. And this goes for really anybody new to a team. They can't act on instinct yet. When a fly ball is hit, instinctively to move backwards to the ball, right? And so for Carl Joseph, he's still trying to get that instinct for the playbook, for the play calls, for the coverages, etc. And he's overcoming an injury. So now it's year 2. The injury is gone, out of his mind, and he has a year of the playbook under his wings. So yes, if Carl Joseph is the type of player that we all believe and hope he can be, we should see him take a jump. In fact, we should see him take a huge jump. There were some highlights last year, him laying the lumber, a couple plays. I remember he didn't quit, and he had some good stuff. But this is the year we should see him really step up to that. I'm going to be a dominant Earl Thomas type safety in back there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense, and I think you're right. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. All right, last one I got here is Janikowski, but why don't we save Janikowski because we got something else to talk about with old Jano here in a little bit. So let's move on to let's talk about number 24, huh?
Hey, just one time, I need it.
Raiders Fan Radio.
I see what you did there. Let's talk about 24. But Charles Woodson talked about, that was clever. That was classy. Okay. We'll talk about this topic, and then I'm gonna say something that probably is gonna alienate our show from the rest of the Raider Nation. Marshawn Lynch, the number 1 selling jersey during the month of May. I think he took over Brady, who I think was the number 1. And now it's Marshawn Lynch, number 1 selling jersey for the month of May. Does it have staying power? Is it simply because he just signed with the Raiders? Who knows? The guy hasn't played a frickin' down yet for the Raiders, and his Raiders jersey was the number 1 selling jersey for the month of May. That's cool, man. That's cool. But here's where I think we're going to alienate ourselves. I'm done, Murph. I'm freaking done with the Lynch train. I have jumped off. I'm running in the opposite direction, and I'm running to the regular season until I see what this man can do in a game. Let's stop. He's not Jesus. This isn't the second coming. We don't know if this guy can play freaking football, right? Up until now, it's simply been, I believe, a ploy by the Raiders to keep the fan base in Oakland at bay. And again, this isn't a knock against his character. I just read today he's doing a camp, or he did a camp today or recently, that was helping little guys, youth, play football, but also learn how to code. That to me is phenomenal, because all the kids in Japan are learning how to code in school, and the kids in America are using the devices and using the programs that the kids in freaking Japan make, right? Why the schools don't teach coding is beyond me. So Marshawn Lynch is a freaking great humanitarian. Nothing to do against that. But can we stop with treating him like he's the second coming? He hasn't played it down yet for the Raiders, right? Freaking Raider Nation's seen a 15-second video clip of him running. They can't get tackled yet, so what do you expect, right? And then they go freaking crazy, like, oh my gosh, Marshawn Lynch, and now he's the number one jersey? That pisses me off. Why isn't it Mac? Why isn't it Derek Carr? Now, again, I think it's because the timing, he was signed right before May, everybody's hyped, yada, yada, yada. But I'm off the train, Murph, until I see what the guy can do. I'm happy he's on the team. I think it's cool, but let's stop freaking, you know what I'm saying? Let's come on. Let's let this thing play out first, right? It's not like we were a crappy team and all of a sudden Lynch is going to make us that much better. He very well may be the piece that wins the Super Bowl for us. And if that happens, I'll freaking praise him up and down. But up until he does that, everybody's take is simply an opinion. Our good buddy Scott Winter, he thinks it's going to be like John Riggins, right? Older in his career, comes in, has an amazing year. He very well could, but that's an opinion. Nothing at this point is a fact about Marshawn Lynch, other than the fact that he signed for the Raiders, and Raiders fans are pretty hyped about him. But I'm one Raiders fan who's stepping off the train for a bit and is going to come back to reality station, and I'm going to wait there, and we'll see what happens in the regular season.
Wow, check the passion, man. I dig it. I don't agree with a thing you just said, but I dig the I dig the passion. Is there a little bit of deification that's going on here with Marshawn? Yes. Is it getting a little bit overhyped? Yes. Do I agree with you that we need to temper expectations until we see what the guy can do on the field? Yes, I get all that. But I'm on board with all of it. Like you just got done saying a second ago how, the Raiders are going to get the exposure. They're going to get the nice things said about them. They're going to get all the good that's coming with their potential and their high ceiling this year. And well, this is just part of that. And if people want to get excited about it and buy up his jersey, then more power to you, man. Like I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see there's are you setting yourself up to be disappointed if he doesn't do a very good job? Yes, absolutely. You certainly are. But going into it, I mean, if you want to be hyped about it until you're given a reason to not be hyped, then, go ahead. But I would tell you this though, Raider Nation. Yeah, just be careful. Cause I mean, it's as beautiful of a story and as poetic as all of this is and as great of a guy as he is and all that stuff. All you got to do is look at the history of the NFL, and we've talked about it already, so I'm not going to go over the list of guys again, but if you look at the history of the NFL, it is not uncommon for great players to go finish their careers and in new places and kind of just be mediocre. Some of them flat suck. Some of them do great. Some of them are Jerry Rice. Some of them are Emmitt Smith. But there are a lot more Emmitt Smith type results than there is Jerry Rice like results. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, if you want to get hyped about him, hey, look, I'd rather see him be the number one jersey than Von freaking Miller. You know what I mean?
Of course. But,
and the fact that a Raider is now the leading jersey seller in the country, I think that's bitching, man. And in fact, here, I'm going to throw this at you. I got your top six.
Hold on. Let me stop you real quick.
Okay.
It's cool that a Raider is there but it's a Raider who hasn't even played a freaking down for the Raiders. That's what I think is absurd to me. It's not Carr, it's not Mack, it's freaking Lynch. He hasn't even played a down for the Raiders, and he's the number one freaking jersey? Give me a break, dude. Come on. People are stupid.
It's because everybody's already got a Carr jersey. Because remember, the prerequisite to host a podcast or to write a blog is that you have to have a Derek Carr jersey. So we've already got them.
We've checked those boxes. Again, here's the thing. Marshawn Lynch has not played a full season since 2014. He was great, 1,300 yards, great, 13 rushing touchdowns. Did great. That's 3 years ago, right? From 24 to 27, from 22 to 25, 21 to 24, not that big of a deal. From 28 to 31, that's a big, a lot of stuff happens in that age range, Murph. A lot of stuff happens once a running back hits 30, 31. And he's not a speedster. So again, let's temper our expectations of the Raiders as a whole. No, expect Super Bowl. Lynch, let's see what happens. That's all I'm saying. Let's just see what happens.
Well, I think that's fair. And that part I guess we do agree on. That we'll keep our expectations tempered, and Raider Nation, we would encourage you to do the same. Get excited about it, but understand the context and understand the big picture and the history of all of this. Otherwise you're going to end up, like I remember when we got Maurice Jones-Drew.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Now, granted, the team sucked back then, but it's still the same thing. It's like
still.
You know what it is? You know what it is, Murph. You know what it is? This is a carryover. This is a carryover mentality of the Raiders for the last 14 years. We got Javon Walker. He's going to be our savior. We got freaking Maurice Jones-Drew. He's going to be our savior. We got Matt Schwab. He's going to be – you know how many times we got a free agent signing, and what did we all do? Oh, he's going to be the difference maker. This is a carryover mentality of that mentality. We got Richard Seymour.
That's a good point.
We got Randy Moss. We got whoever, right? We'd always bring in these guys.
Sapp,
Warren Sapp.
Yep.
We'd always bring in these people, and they were going to be our savior. And that this thought process, this mindset about Lynch is that old mentality times 10. It's crazy to me. Anyway, so more about the jerseys though. You were going to say
that's a good point. That's a very good point. That's an excellent way to put that. Yes, you're right, and absolutely, and that is some of us still kind of being in that old Raider way, and that's but that's to be expected, right? Like this is all new ground we're exploring here. Baby steps, man. Baby steps to the front. Baby steps to the elevator. Okay. All right, what about Bob? So here's what I got. So I got the top 6 jerseys sold in the month of May. The reason I have 6 is because number 6 is interesting. I'm going to give it to you for free. It's Derek Carr. So the number 1 jersey in May is Marshawn. The number 6 is Derek Carr. Can you name, let's say, 2 of the 4 in the middle? So give me 2 players in the middle. So numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I did look at the list when all this first came out, but I don't remember it. But I believe I know Brady's in. I think he's number 2, right?
There you go. You got Tommy. Yep, Tommy Boy's number 2.
And wasn't Drew Brees in there?
No,
it's not Brees.
But it is a quarterback. Well, there's 2 quarterbacks with a D. That okay.
Russell Wilson?
No, there's no D in Russell.
Oh, I didn't hear you say D.
Okay.
D.
2 D's.
In the names?
2 of the
freaking Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. There you go. Dak Prescott is the number 3, and then right behind him is Ezekiel Elliott. No surprise there. America's team, right? Like they're the big merchandisers. Here's the one that got me though. This is what really surprised me. The number 5th selling jersey in the month of May, Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't this all tell you humans live on hope? Whether it's faith, I'm telling you, dude, whether it's faith, whether it's a job, whether it's sports, humans freaking live on hope. That's what Lynch.
Not the chowder heads. They're living on 4 rings.
But that's what
5
rings. What the Lynch jersey is telling you, and that's what Deshaun Watson is telling you. People live on freaking hope. Deshaun Watson? Are you kidding me? Give me a break.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson. He's not going to start, or he's going to compete for it anyways. I don't know. I just thought that was definitely an odd one.
Give me a break. Let's kick out that topic and kick on the new one, huh?
I got my Raiders boxers hanging low, covering the crack, because I'm listening to Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by a couple of fans, Sonny and Murf, 4 Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter.
Welcome back to Raiders Fan Radio, where we're listening. You're listening. The same reason we're talking. It's the Raiders. What else would you want to listen or talk about, huh? Sebastian Janikowski earlier this week stated the following: "You're going to have to kick me out, or I'm going to kick until they kick me out." Essentially stating the following: he wants to be a Raider long term, into his 40s. He wants to play in Vegas. I think that's awesome, Murph. He wants to play in Vegas. However, I believe a few episodes ago, we had a conversation of whether we should even keep Janikowski around because he demands kind of a high dollar. And his numbers, granted, he kicks on dirt. He's kicked on dirt for a long time. But his numbers haven't been the best. So, Janikowski wants to stay with the team at least until they go to Vegas. He's 39 years old right now. He would be 42 years old when we go to Vegas. Do you think he's still with the team by then?
I don't think so. I mean, I said in that show, however many ago that it was, that, I think we have Giorgio Tavecchio waiting in the wings for a reason. The Raiders keep bringing him back to camp for a reason, and I've got to think that unless Seabass, one, keeps up his production, and we know kickers can keep up their production pretty late in their careers. See Adam Vinatieri. We know that can, and actually we're going to get into a lot more of that here in a minute. But so if taking performance out of the equation, at some point, don't you think he's going to have some sort of a pay cut if he wants to stay a Raider? Because when you look at the contracts, and we all know who they are and what they are and when they're going to, we all understand the expectation of the Raiders and their monster contracts coming up. We're talking about the biggest contracts potentially in Raider history, could be in, top 10s and 20s of the league, period. They're not going to have enough money to pay a kicker $6 million. Like, that ain't going to happen. And I think, is he make that kind of money? Like, he's going to have to be if he wants to play for the Raiders at that time, we're talking veteran minimum, maybe $1 million or $2 million. It's not going to be a lot of money. So as much as I think that it would be nice to see him be around long enough to see the spoils of the good play, that, he was around the last time we were good and he's sticking around to see him be good again. And I want that for him because I think that he's one of the, in a long legacy of pretty amazing players on special teams. He's up there. And so, I got a lot of respect for him and his game and what he's brought to this organization. And I'd like to see him be around. I'd like to see him be there, not be like Charles Woodson, who had to dip out a year or two too early. So I want all that for him, but not at $6 million a year. I'm sorry. That is not going to happen. He's not going to be in Vegas if that's the case. So I hope he's ready to take a pay cut.
According to rotoworld.com, in 2013, signed an $18 million contract. Deal contains $8 million guaranteed. Into 2017, he's slated to make $4 million. In 2018, he's a free agent. So next year is the year, right? Next year is the question mark. Does he play for the league minimum? Is it a slap in the face to offer him the league minimum? I guess that's the biggest question. He's the only guy left from that 2002 game against Tampa Bay. We won't talk about. I think he was first round pick. Yeah, first round pick. So he's one of the old Al Davis guys, right? He's been here the longest out of anybody, and all that stuff. But the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. So the Raiders would be stupid, and I don't think McKenzie thinks like this anyway. They would be dumb to say, hey, you've been here so long, let's give you, $5 million a year until you're 45 years old. I don't think they do that. I think they say, look, if you want to be here, we're going places. We don't, if you want to be here, great. If not, we can't pay all this money. I think they give him not maybe league minimum, but pretty darn close to it. And then he stays around for a few more years.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the only way that it goes, right? Because you're right. They're not gonna play favorites with anything, especially when you have a player waiting around. I mean, look at what we did to Leckler, right? I mean,
exactly.
Marquette King was fully capable of being, not only good but a really good player at his position, and we sent Leckler packing, and we'll do the same thing to Seabass if Tavecchio ends up being as good as what I think he's going to be. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be sketchy, but I think that frankly, you just have the conversation with the guy. You just tell him, look, we have defensive players of the year and potential Hall of Fame quarterbacks we have to sign.
Exactly.
You're not high on the list at 40 years old. We
love you, but if you want to stick around, take this.
This is what it's going to take. Exactly. So, all right. So let's dig into a couple of fun things here when it comes to. Let's go with let's dig on the old guys a little bit, right? So
I was going to
Adam Vinatieri.
I was going to set you up, but you just kept on talking through. I was going to say this.
Well, no.
I was going to say, is he one of the oldest Raiders, Murph?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Sonny. Thank you for asking. Yes, he is not only one of the oldest Raiders, but he is also one of the oldest players in the league, up there with, of course, one Thomas Brady. So birthday. So Seabass, March 2nd, 1978. Tom, August 3rd, 1977. But the oldest guy is, this gives me hope, Sonny, because this guy's actually older than I am.
Woo!
December 28th, 1972, Adam Vinatieri. So speaking of kickers, they got let go before they commanded the big payday, right? To, Bill Belichick, who's not shy to send you packing, sent Vinatieri packing, and Vinatieri still kicking, still playing well, for the Indianapolis Colts. So when I read that, it kind of got me thinking, and I wanted to kind of go down the path of the old man here, and let's kind of dig into some little bit of NFL history on some of this stuff as it pertains to the Raiders. So all time in the NFL, the oldest players to ever play, most of them are all kickers. Now, I'm going to throw you up a softball here. Do you know who the oldest player to ever play in the NFL was?
George Blanda,
48 years old, right? And former quarterback, placed kicker for the Raiders, and he played all the way to 48 years old, man. He was still kicking.
That's nuts.
That's nuts. So from 48 down to 44, they're all kickers. And there's like Morton Anderson, Ken Anderson, like there's a handful of guys, and there's like 4 or 5 guys that were like 46, 45, like all in there, right? That were all kickers. But I thought, well, who's the oldest not special teams player to play in the NFL? And I came across 3 guys that were at 4, and I think Tom's going to get this far because I think Tom's wants it, and he's trying to prove a point, this whole TB12 thing and all that, this whole, workout and diet regimen and all this stuff. I think he's trying to prove a point. So I think he's going to get there. But as of right now, there are 3 quarterbacks at 44 years old took snaps in the regular season and in the NFL. Can you name one of those 3?
So there's 3 quarterbacks who played at 44 in the league.
Yes.
Well, I think one's easy. Don't give me any hints. One's easy. Warren Moon. Didn't he play in his 40s?
Warren Moon. Boom. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Warren Moon.
Let me go with the other 2. Let me try to get the other 2.
Okay. All right.
Warren Moon.
One you got a shot at. One is really tough unless you really dig in on it. I mean, it.
Give me a hint for the one that I got a shot at.
All right. His name in Italian is Greenhead.
So he's an Italian.
He's an Italian.
Oh, freaking Tampa Bay Bucks guy.
Yeah.
Vinny.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Played that old, really?
Vinny Testaverde, man, when he started with the Jets. Yeah, he was, actually, I think he finished out his career with the Panthers, but, he was like one of the few 40-year-old quarterbacks to start a playoff game, if I remember that. I don't have that written down, and I didn't read that recently, but if I remember right, that was one of the things about Vinny, is that he was one of the few 40-year-olds to play in the playoffs, or win a playoff game, or play in the AFC Championship, or something like that. But anyways, yeah. So old Vinny Greenhead was the second, and then the third one I'll give you is Steve DeBerg. If you remember Steve DeBerg,
old Chiefs quarterback.
Yeah, long-time veteran, played around all over the place. He was 44 years old when he played. So then I started thinking, I'm like, okay.
Does that make you look at your own life and go, I've done nothing with my life? They're playing football.
I host a
They're playing football in their 40s. I can't even freaking. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but those guys couldn't host a fabulous podcast.
Yeah. They couldn't do what we do. Yeah, that gives me hope.
Right?
Gives me hope.
Warren Moon's got no future in broadcasting.
Warren Moon. Guy's awesome.
Except he is a broadcaster.
That
doesn't matter.
Was it he? Didn't he have the greatest comeback in NFL history in the playoffs? Or was that against him?
It was against him, dude. It was the Bills.
Yeah,
against
they were up 35-7 at
halftime,
halftime, and then Kelly came back and beat him.
Yeah, Frank Reich.
Yeah.
He also brought Maryland back against Miami. Yeah.
Moving on.
All right, so moving on. So then, this is how my mind works, man. I start tumbling into the rabbit hole.
The internet's not good for you.
No, because especially when it comes to football, man, I'm a junkie. All right, so then I started thinking about quarterbacks. Then I started thinking about Raider quarterbacks, the oldest Raider quarterbacks, and I started thinking about the oldest Raiders, period. And I'm like, all right, who are the oldest Raiders to ever play in the National Football League? So one is easy, right? Because it's George Blanda. That's simple, right? So there are three more that were 40 or older that played for the Raiders. One of them has an asterisk by it. And I'll give you this one for free because I would have never got it. It's Wade Wilson. He actually was on the team, but he never played or something like that. Remember him, though? You remember the guy.
He was in the Vikings for a long time.
Right. So Wade Wilson 16. And George Blanda. So Wade Wilson was 40.
You ever wonder how much football stats take up your brain space and how many other things in life that are beneficial to your life you could actually remember if you didn't know that Wade Wilson was number 16 and played for the Vikings for the majority of his career?
I'm sure our wives will have something to say about that, about what we do and don't remember. There's no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt in my mind.
Give me a break. Why the hell do I know anything about Wade freaking Wilson?
All right, so in the middle of George Blanda at 48 and Wade Wilson and his asterisk 40, there are two Raiders in there. Can you name one of those two Raiders? One of them could be pretty obvious.
They're at quarterback or just players over?
No. Well, do you want the positions or not?
Sure.
One is a quarterback. One is a wide receiver.
Wide receiver? Let's see here. I won't spend too much time on this. Wide receiver, not Blitnikoff.
No.
Not Blitnikoff.
Come on. Think not that far in our past.
Oh, Jerry Rice.
There you go. All right, Jerry Rice. So Jerry Rice was 42 years old the last time that he took a snap with the Raiders. And I need to clarify something, too. On a couple of shows ago, and I mentioned something about Timmy Brown at the end of his career going and playing with the Broncos and the Seahawks. I was mixing stuff up. It wasn't Timmy Brown. It was Jerry Rice that went and played with the Broncos and the Seahawks. Yeah. Timmy Brown went to Tampa Bay and played a year with Gruden. I knew he ended up somewhere funky for that one last year of his career, and that's what it was. It was Tampa Bay. But anyways, Jerry Rice, 2004, when he retired. So there are second oldest Raider, and then the third. I got a little bit of a fond memory of this guy, and I'm gonna play a clip here. It's a couple minutes long. I think you'll like it, and our listeners will like it. It kind of hits the Wayback Machine a little bit, and the reason that it's fond to me is that I remember this game was on the 26th of December because it was the day after Christmas, and I was hanging out with my dad. I lost my dad in November. And so being that it's Father's Day, I've been thinking about him. And, this game, it was just me and him. We were hanging out the day after Christmas and, the game was nationally televised. It was the Los Angeles Raiders. And this dude at the time, I think he was 37. And when he went in to start because Art Shell benched your buddy, Jay Schrader.
Wasn't my buddy.
And well, you've always tell the best joke about Jay Schrader. What do you call a blonde that screws the whole football team?
Jay Schrader!
So Jay Schrader gets benched, and this guy came in and won on the road at old RFK Stadium against the playoff-bound Washington Redskins. And I'll never forget me and my dad cracking up because the game was in hand. The Redskins had the game won, and this dude led the Raiders to a fourth quarter comeback. They were even had gone so far as they were playing the theme song, Hail, Hail to the Redskins, on national television with the words scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Talk about working against the Raiders. Everybody hates the Raiders, including the networks. And this guy pulled the Raiders out to victory. Sonny, do you know who that guy was?
Not a clue.
40-year-old Vince Evans.
Head coach Art Shell astutely chose experienced Vince Evans to attack the proven Washington defense. With quick feet and a strong arm, Evans drove the Raiders goalward with speedsters Tim Brown and Alexander Wright as top targets.
To the right is Wright, to the left Sam Grady. Back once again goes Evans, and he's going to go for a deep bomb down the right side. Wright makes a leaping effort. Touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great play!
The Raiders cleverly mixed pass and run.
Give the ball to Bell. Bell trying to get outside left. 5, 3, 2. He is hit. He dives. Touchdown Raiders!
A magnificent never-say-die effort by Brown and Evans kept the Raiders within striking distance. Great protection from Todd Pete, Pro Bowl choice Steve Wisniewski, Don Mosbar, Max Montoya, Reggie McElroy and company bought time for Evans.
Now Evans is in the situation here where he needs that big, chunky yardage again to get the ball across midfield.
Evans lets it go long. Willie Gall is out there. Willie Gall has the ball at the 6-yard line.
That's the play I was talking about. That kind of play, that's been the Raider trademark over the years. And usually if you don't stop the bomb, you don't stop the Raiders.
These proud Raiders would not be stopped. Precision passing, design and execution, and a perfect point after earned another classic Raider comeback, 21-20.
If you can't stop the bomb, you can't stop the Raiders, huh?
Isn't that beautiful, dude? That just gives me fun. I love hearing that old stuff, man. That old, just the drama of it all, man. The music and the 1812 overture playing in the background with Parcells and Don Criqui and Bill King and all those cool voices you hear throughout that, man. I love it. Vince Evans, ladies and gentlemen.
Vince Evans. On that note, Murph, we should give you a tribute because this show's gonna probably air on Father's Day. So let's have a little Father's Day topics, huh?
You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Sonny and Murf, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans.
Murf, I got 2 little boys. I love them to pieces. One of them's 3. One of them's 2. 3-year-old's going to turn 4 here in July. For anybody listening, if you're a father out there, hats off to you. It's not an easy job. At the same time, it's the most rewarding job in the world. I was sitting out today on my patio furniture, which cemented me as just being an adult. I now have patio furniture. I still have an Xbox.
Were you wearing Crocs and cargo shorts while you were sitting in your patio furniture?
I still have an Xbox, so I'm still holding on to my teenage years. But I now have patio furniture. Anyway, my kid was down the yard there and had a soccer ball. And he turns around and just goes, "Hi, Dad," and then turns back around and keeps kicking the soccer ball. It was beautiful. There's just nothing like being a father. My father passed away several years ago, 2012, to cancer, and he's the reason I'm doing this show today. He's the reason I'm a Raiders fan. He's the reason all of this. So if you find my voice annoying talking about the Raiders, you have him to blame. I remember when he was alive, Murph, when he was getting pretty close to passing there. I think it was within a few months. We had just started doing one of our shows, our podcast for the Madden League, and we had on Mad Scientist. He's a Madden game changer there. And we interviewed him, and I remember showing him the show. And I remember going, "Dad, check this out, man! I'm doing this radio show that's pretty fun, and we got like 30 people who listen to it. It's pretty awesome, you know." And he was stoked. He was hyped because he always loved sports. And he always loved, communication and stuff like that. And he actually broadcast or was like the announcer for my high school football games and stuff like that. So it was really cool. So whenever I do a show, I'm always kind of thinking about my pop, and I have a picture of him right here with me and him and Kenny Stabler way back in the day that I always kind of look at and stuff when we do a show. So for all of you dads out there, happy Father's Day. I think Murph has a clip of my dad when we went to the only game that me and Murph and his dad and my dad went to in our lifetimes. Now, obviously, Murph's dad and my dad were brother-in-laws at one point in their lives. They went to several games way back in the day. They went to the A's games back when you could just bring your beer in a milk jug and call it good and stuff, you know. And so we just grew up hearing story after story of Raiders games and A's games. It's now me and Murph to this day carry on the tradition of going to at least one game a year. And hopefully in the future we'll maybe get a little more. So Murph has a clip of the game we went to with our dads. It was back in 2011, and it was actually the last game that Al Davis attended as well before he passed away. So this is us entering into the stadium, and Murph will play that for you right now.
What do you think, Uncle Bruce? I think it's wonderful shit. Good shit.
Oh, ladies, line up on the left. Gentlemen, move to the right.
Look at his jersey. When I grow up, I want to get a job over there searching the ladies.
Ladies, line up on the left. Gentlemen, keep to the right.
Ask that guy which line he would line up in.
So if you don't know what's going on there, we're all walking into the Oakland Coliseum, and there's a guy standing there, and he's telling us, ladies on the left, guys on the right, because they're searching you before you walk through for the metal detectors and all that kind of stuff going into the Coliseum. And so Uncle Bruz, Sonny's dad, says, ask that guy which line he would get in. It's one of the best lines, man. It's so funny. And then, of course, his line of, when I grow up, I want to get a job searching the ladies. It's so funny. Your dad was one of the funniest guys ever. And our whole family is full of funny people. You and I are probably the least funny of everybody in our family.
Knuckle was pretty not funny.
That uncle that should not be named. Yeah. He's not too funny, but our family is pretty darn funny, and your dad was one of the funniest. And I'm looking at my picture of our dads together at that game, and just the smiles and the influence that those guys have or had on our Raider fandom was just you're right. It's the whole reason that we're here, and it would be really hard for us to have a show about the Oakland Raiders and on the eve of Father's Day and not reflect heavily back on that day and those guys. And really, that was what kicked off this whole thing, right?
Yeah,
I know we were doing that little Madden thing, but that was really, that's where we made a pact that, our fandom was not going to be limited to doing this once in a while, that this was going to be an annual thing for us to not only celebrate the Raiders, but most important, celebrate our family.
Let's get together.
Because that was a pretty profound moment for us to do that together and with our dads especially. So
in honor of Father's Day, we salute anybody out there who's a father. I got a buddy right now. He's in a custody battle, and we keep kind of talking about what he should do and whether he should get lawyers involved. And I'm like, absolutely. If you got a kid out there, you need to fight. Every kid needs his dad. And I work in a profession as a counselor for adolescents who struggle with addiction and mental health issues. And I'd say probably 90% of the kids I work with either don't have a dad around, or the dad they got in their life is half the problem. So if you are a father out there, kudos to you. I salute you in your efforts, and keep up the good work. Always make sure you make time for your kid, even if it's a walk around the park or a simple, hey, how you doing? There's nothing like having a father. And I think truly in our day and age nowadays, fathers get a bad rap, and we're trying to make the family essentially parentless, where you don't need anybody. But there's nothing like a father and the influence a father has on a kid's life. So again, to all you fathers out there, mad respect and own your day. I mean, eat all the barbecue you want, drink all the beer you want, whatever it is you do on Father's Day, own it. And then when it comes back to Monday, go back to kicking ass at being a dad. And I believe, Murph, you have a thing we're going to do for NFL players, right, that are fathers and sons?
Yeah, so I found some cool Raider connections for Father's Day. There are 3 that I was able to come up with. 2 of them are pretty obvious, and then one I kind of, I'd forgotten about until I came across it. So the 3 immediate connections are
Mannings.
Well, that's NFL. I'm talking about Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a ton of, the whole Matthews family I think is played in the NFL. I think, Bruce Matthews' wife was even, a tackle.
So who do you got? Howie?
But
you got Howie, right?
Howie and Chris, right? That's probably I wouldn't even call it the most recent, but probably the highest profile, I would say, because, obviously Howie, Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer, and then his kid, Super Bowl winner. I wouldn't call Chris's journey through the NFL Hall of Fame worthy, but he's at times a premier player.
Yeah.
So, I think that's certainly the highest profile. So yes, Howie and Chris Long is the first one I have on the list. You want to take a shot at number 2?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
How about George Atkinson and George Atkinson the third?
Oh, that's pretty relevant.
And that's the most Raider relevant because both of them were Raiders, and Atkinson obviously was the better player at defensive back than his son was at running back and returner and all that. But yeah, the Atkinsons, and then the last one, which I don't know why, but I just kind of glossed over it, and then as soon as I saw it, I was like, holy crap! Oh yeah, and I'm talking about Tony Dorsett, right? One of the all-time great running backs for the Dallas Cowboys, and his son. Anthony Dorsett was our safety during our Gruden years. And actually something that I thought that was really cool about Anthony, I didn't know. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Titans. He played in the Super Bowl loss to the Rams when he was a member of the Titans. And he was a member of that game that we played against Tampa Bay and lost in that game as well. So 2-time Super Bowl appearances, but no W's there for Anthony Dorsett. But he's a pretty good player. I mean, I remember him being a pretty good safety for us. So yeah, little father-son connection for the Raiders 3 times over there.
Murph, here's a quick question in regards to fathers being a father, essentially. Knowing what we know now about concussions and the NFL and kind of all that stuff, say one of your boys, right, probably the older one because the younger one's probably going to play music and get a bunch of girls based on his freaking hair. Say your oldest son is able to play in the NFL. Would you want your kid playing in the NFL, knowing what we know now about lingering injuries and stuff like that?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that, and especially as time progresses and the more that we learn about concussions and, traumatic head injuries and CTE and all of the things that, I think that it's, I'm comfortable with it. I mean, he plays football now. He has since he was a kid. Well, he's still a kid, but he's 14 now. He's playing freshman high school football, and he's been playing since he was in the 6th grade. Youth football, maybe 5th grade. I have to think about it, go back over all the years, but yeah, it's a long time. And even at that level, even at, those levels, I mean, and it probably, frankly, it's probably more so at the youth sports level because they're super, super, super sensitive to that type of stuff.
Yeah, head up tackling, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And so, and you're talking about, babies out there, you know what I mean? You're talking about kids. And so the difference though, and I'll tell you the big thing that in coaching kids and what I've seen as they've gotten older is that when they're little, they don't have enough body mass nor velocity to create severe head injuries. Like, I mean, you could take 2 6-year-olds and beeline them at one another as fast as they can run, and with football helmets on, they're not going to hurt it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't hurt each other. Like, it's not enough. There's not enough body mass flying at high enough speed to create the kind of havoc that you create in the NFL or the SEC or higher levels of football. So So as you get into those higher levels, and now, my kid's 5'10", 170 at 14 years old, you know what I mean? Now he's big enough to be able to start creating that type. But now also, the coaches are looking for it. I mean, I as a parent even signed waivers and had to go through concussion protocol and all kinds of stuff just to get him signed up. So I mean, it's way on everybody's radar. So yeah, I would be fine with it with him playing and doing that. Yeah. How about you?
I'm going to teach both my kids how to kick a ball really far.
You know what? Be a punter or a left-handed reliever.
Exactly.
You can play forever and make a whole bunch of money.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. All right, Murph. I know originally we said 6 topics. We're going to cut it down to 5. We're already close to an hour and a half here. So last topic coming up.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at RaidersFanRadio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
All right, thanks, Uncle Mosh. Don't lose all your money down there in Atlanta this weekend. Murph, we've covered 4 topics today. This is our 5th and final one for the day. I'm a little sad, Murph. I'm a little sad. We've been going hot and heavy now for a while with this show. But now we're about to enter the dark period. The Raiders, this was the last week of minicamp. Essentially now they're off until for about 5 weeks. So the breakdown is like this. July 21st, rookies and first-year players can come back and start doing drills. July 23rd, quarterbacks and injured players can come in. July 28th, the veterans and everyone else reports to training camp. And then July 29th, it's open to the public. And then August 12th is our first preseason game against the Cardinals. So now we got 5 weeks of nothing. 5 weeks of continued hype about Marsh. No, just kidding. 5 weeks. But essentially we got 5 weeks of dark time, right? There's going to be nothing going on. So the biggest thing is going to be Carr's contract. Is he going to get signed essentially before July 23rd? So today's June 17th. So essentially you got 36 days to get this thing done.
5 weeks on the money, yeah.
5 weeks in a day. 36 days. Do the Raiders get this thing done? Are you worried about it? I know we've talked about it extensively on this show, and I don't really want to get in the weeds on it, but essentially we're getting ready to come to the dark ages, right? Winter is coming, or in the NFL's case, summer is coming.
Oh, yeah, we got new Game of Thrones coming.
Yeah,
Speaking of that,
that's
that'll
cool.
be fun.
Summer is coming, the tail end of Madden year. Nobody cares about leagues anymore. People are quitting when other people don't show up on time and all that kind of stuff, So, it's the dead zone for football right now, right? And so, what are we going to talk about on this show? We're going to do a show once a week still, right? Like, I want to stay committed and keep doing a show. Maybe we'll just do more interviews, right? It'd be cool to maybe get some people on, do some more interviews. People are doing cool stuff with their fandom. Are you sad? I mean, do you focus on anything else during these next 5 weeks? What do you traditionally do as a fan when there's just really nothing going on in football-wise?
That's really cool. That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever thought through that one all the way. Because it's the downtime of all sports, right? Like we have horrendous Oakland A's baseball that we could watch. Although they did beat the Yankees in a walk-off the other night.
Pissed at them.
I know. And now it's like, okay, are they going to trade Yonder Alonso? Should they? Like, what's up with Sonny Gray? Like, of course, we got the rights to him through 2018. But anyways, so what do you, as a football fan though? I mean, even when we were doing our Madden leagues and doing all that hot and heavy, we would always get a break there in the summer. So, I think this is the time for me when I really, because I record a lot of stuff and like bookmark a lot of stuff online or whatever, are things that like, old games, like, one that I started watching the other day that I want to finish is the 1967 AFL championship game, the game that the Raiders won. They beat the Houston Oilers to go on to play the Packers.
Nice,
like you hear about that Super Bowl and you hear about the Ice Bowl all the time, the game between Dallas and Green Bay, but you never hear about the game between the Raiders and the Oilers. And the Raiders beat the crap out of them 40-7. That was Darryl LaMonica and all those guys like in their absolute heyday. And I'm like, oh, this is cool as crap. And so I started watching that. So like, I'll go back and watch that. I'll probably go back and watch the Denver game from last year that we were at. Like I recorded that while we were out of town so I could, you know what I mean? I want to go back and watch the actual television broadcast of that. I'll watch, A Football Life with Stabler. I'll watch America's game with the, with the Raiders Super Bowls. I'll watch the old, NFL Films Black Sunday with John Facenda when that nothing that blocked or passed or tackled or ran could stop the Raiders on Black Sunday when they devastated the Washington Redskins. I'll go back. This is the time of year for, as a football fan, I'll go back and just consume all of that stuff because during the year, I get so locked into the now. You're always aware of the history of everything, but I don't ever lock into the history of stuff unless it's some milestone that gets, somebody does something that has never happened before or whatever. But outside of that, I'm not really digging into the history of the league and especially with our Raiders. So that's typically what I'll do to fill that time. I'll tell you one last little thing. I'm looking at it right now. It's the 1999 NFL record and facts book. And before the internet, was in its heyday.
What? What do you mean before the internet? What?
Yeah, I know. When the world didn't exist.
What?
Your dad, it was actually funny. Your dad got a huge kick out of the fact that I would sit down with that big old, and I'm talking, it's like thicker than a Bible. It's like 2 inches thick and it's like 8 by 10. Like it's a big book. And it's got, at the time, every single record and fact about the NFL and its entire history. And I used to memorize Hall of Famers. I would memorize where they went to school. I would memorize the terms of their career. I just liked that stuff. And I remember your dad used to just get such a kick out of it. He just out of the fact that, I knew that Mean Joe Green went to North Texas State. Like he'd be like, why do you need to know that? I'm like, I don't. I just can't stop. It's just a thing. And so anyways, and now I have the internet to do that with, and it's a mess. So anyways, that's what I do with my time. Oh yeah. And then I have 2 children and a wife and a job too.
And
I love them all very, very much.
You're kind of a nerd when it comes to football, aren't you?
I'm a little bit of a nerd. Yeah.
A little bit of a geek out there. That's good. You're kind of the exact opposite of me. I kind of follow suit and take it off. I don't really dive in more or less. I just kind of go with the flow. In the past, we were always entrenched in Madden leagues, and so getting away from football was kind of a joy. Now that we don't have that Madden league to kind of pass the time away and stuff like that, I don't know what I'm going to do this year. I'm not sure. Probably line up interviews. It would be nice to get an interview every single week as we lead up to the season, lead up to preseason at least, and gives us more stuff to talk about. And I think we've done, probably 15 episodes in the off season and stuff. It's ridiculous. But and then we'll have some interesting conversations. Maybe this is a time to have philosophical conversations on the radio and stuff like that as we ramp up towards the season. But yeah, we'll see what happens with stuff.
I'd like to, and I would really like us to get into, and we could even start as soon as next week, is that I'd like for us to talk about the, again, speaking of dads or especially family dynamics, the idea of being a biological Raider fan or electing to be a Raider fan. What I mean by that is, we were born into Raider fandom. Our dads were Raider fans. Our uncles, our family were Raider fans. We grew up in the Bay Area. We were going to be a Raider fan. Our odds are our children are going to be Raider fans. Like it's just passed on. But then there are some people like our friend Jim Zebach in Erie, Pennsylvania. I have a gentleman that I work with that is from North Carolina. He is a Raider fan. They grew up in these areas where you either have multiple teams to select from, like in the case of Jim, or you grow up in a place like North Carolina where at the time you didn't have any NFL team to choose from, and then they're actually choosing to be Raider fans. And so the dynamic of that and the difference,
Easy.
I really like us.
Don't give it all away.
I won't. But I would like us to explore that. And the reason that I brought it in relation to the parent was that, you and I both have children and we love them unconditionally, and those are our children. And then there are some families that are, they're steps. You know what I mean? They have stepfathers and stepmothers, and those folks are choosing to be those kids as parents. And that's a very noble thing. And this isn't a discussion of one better than the other. It's just the.
Come on, you're giving.
Sorry.
Shut up. Shut up. Gosh. I'm not trying to be a bully here. Just shut up. Dang it.
What?
Giving it all away. That was a topic we cut because I thought it'd be better to wait until next week to talk about it. Oh, yeah. There we go. Anyway, so
now people will think I'll give them something to think about until we reconvene next week. I didn't sell the lead.
Next week, we're going to talk about whether it's better to be a biological sports fan of your favorite team or to adopt them on your own. Now, moving forward, you know what I'm saying? It's like, geez, Louise, give it all away. Give all key points away. You're crazy. You're killing me. I love you.
I'm done talking about it.
You're the greatest co-host. You're the great co-host. I can say this. Murph, garage door.
There's a long history of garage doors. Do you want the flip-up kind or do you want the roll-up kind?
Exactly.
And if you are going to go the roll-up, you have to have a garage door opener.
Okay. That's
5-horse or 3-horse. I got a 5-horse, man. That thing's fast. And I like the ones where you can program it into your car. So now I push the.
You're kind of the Cliff Clavin of Raiders fans. You know what we should do?
Yeah, you know what, Sammy? The ancient Indian. What?
You know what we should do? This would be kind of fun.
What?
What if we set up a Raiders trivia show and put it out there? Do you know your Raider? I guess this would be hard to do with the internet and stuff like that because we'd have to get a camera on the person so we know they're not checking the internet, and we have a show to where we have 3 or 4 people, and you could be in it as well. Maybe I would host it and ask questions, and we just see who knows more about Raiders trivia. That'd be kind of fun. Just random stuff, because I think you know a lot of useless information about the Raiders. That's only good for hosting a podcast.
Well, we could do Stump Murf or something,
That could be cool.
Because if it's live, then we can't look it up. If we have somebody on the show live, then they can't look it up.
But it'd be cool to get 3 or 4 people that have a buzzer or something. We could do it on the screen with the XBI OBS software. And that'd be kind of fun. Maybe we'll look into that or something like that. That'd be kind of
just have them Skype in. We'll just do it on a time limit. You can't research something in 10 seconds or whatever.
Or whoever buzzes in first. If you buzz in first, you win.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll give away an Amazon gift card or something. Who knows? Yeah. Or I got that Marcus Allen jersey. We can give that thing away.
I'd say let's give him a Lynch jersey, but they're all sold out because the hype. The hype train's real there. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we'll still be doing shows. At this point, we don't foresee not doing a show once a week for probably the rest of our lives until our larynxes give out or something like that, or our lymph nodes stop working. Which you're probably close to peak on yours, huh?
Yes, it is. There are 6 overtimes I'm working in right now. Yeah,
good stuff. It's amazing it took you so long to find sales. It just fits perfectly. Anyway,
I know, right?
All right. So thanks for tuning in, Raiders Fan Radio. You can find us Podcast Addict, Stitcher, iTunes, anywhere on the interwebs that you get podcasts from. Website is updated every week. When Murph reminds me to update it, I kind of forget sometimes. RaidersFanRadio.com, Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff. Really appreciating all the love we're getting on social media. Facebook's been awesome. Lots of cool conversations in there, making cool connections. Murph, also we should talk about in the next coming weeks the Titans game. We'll be there. We should set up figure out maybe where we're going to be. I know we want to broadcast live from the game, right? And have people kind of walking by, doing interviews and stuff like that. So we should kind of talk more about that in the upcoming weeks. We'll get that planned. And, yeah, good stuff. Lots of fun stuff coming out there. Anything else, Murph, before we go?
No, I don't have any more words. Goodbye.
Come on. You got anything else to say? Come on. Anything else? We're good?
Happy Father's Day, man. Congratulations on show number 33. Good stuff.
Yeah, 33. Good stuff. All right. Thanks for listening to the Raiders Fan Radio. Raider Nation, wherever, forever.
Veteran Vince Evans, in for an injured Jeff Hostetler, rallied his troops, going to James Jett and Alexander Wright to bring the heroic Raiders back. And his pass to Tim Brown with seconds remaining set up the win. Evans getting under the center. He'll have to spike it. No, he won't. He'll give it to Nick Bell. Is he in? He's in. Touchdown Raiders! What a call!